You got what I want, got what I want. You give me just one look and you know I'm good to go. You know I'm good to go.
Hello, thank you for joining our podcast. Today we have Freddie Zamani, founder of EcoSmart Builders LLC. Freddie, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we've done, you're the specialist on ADUs.
Yes, over the past 6 years, we've learned quite a bit, with all the changes in the permitting process, the limitations, all that stuff.
Sure. So give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. So I've always been in different aspects of construction, and, come 2017, when the laws first started favoring these ADUs in LA County, we shifted our entire business over to ADUs. So starting 2018, we started building these for residential properties. And, before that time, it was nearly impossible to get one approved. So that opened up a whole new opportunity for all, multifamily and residential single-family homeowners.
So they also call them granny.
Yeah, granny flats, mother-in-law suites,
right.
But, the technical term is accessory dwelling unit, which is abbreviated by ADU.
Right. So throughout the years, tell us how the laws have changed, and then how people view them, how the costs associated with them have been, what's happened. Give us a little bit of brief on that.
Sure. So now the laws are as favorable as they've ever been. So both from a multifamily commercial standpoint and also residential, of course. So what they allow now for residential properties is that you're allowed to have one detached ADU. So that could be either a converted detached garage or a new structure. And you're also allowed to have a junior ADU or a JADU, which is converting existing space or adding up to a certain amount to the existing main structure. So essentially, every property can now take one main house and convert their lot into 3 rental properties.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's favorable for the homeowner.
Yeah. I mean, especially in LA, in a city where space is gold, unlocking and, untapping the untapped potential of your lot is key.
Sure. So tell us a little about how about EcoSmart, what the services it provides and a little bit.
Yeah.
Detail.
So we learned early on that, in order to streamline the process and be able to deliver on, both, cost metrics, budgeting, and, the expertise it takes to get these approved, we handle both design and build. So we're a conception to completion company. And over the years, we've created a system where we can provide you with, good estimations on what the total cost would be, as well as being able to make a all-inclusive turnkey ADU for you. So, our clients generally are people that want to be hands-off, but they also want something customized, and they want to only have one source for all that.
Sure. So let's go through a particular example of, let's say, today there's a client that comes to you and has a house with an attached garage. Explain the process, how it would work for them.
Sure. So we would do an intro call. We would figure out what they're looking for. They would share their vision. We'd be able to take a look and measure the space, see what type of space they're working with, right? Attached garage are essentially anywhere from, 380 to 500 square feet for the most part. And in those cases, a JADU would work. So once we have the initial meeting, we go on site, we take the information we need, like utility connection points, we start planning the project, and then we get started on the floor plan and architectural plans, engineered plans, and so forth, and submitting the permit package to the city.
Sure. How long does usually the permitting take, depending?
That's a great question. And, it really depends on what jurisdiction you're in. So LADBS, which is LA City, they are the most efficient at getting these approved and moving you through the process. Although we've never had a real difficulty getting these approved, there are jurisdictions that just have higher, more requirements. They have more clearances that are required, different departments that you have to get clearances from. So if I'm going to give you an average, it would be anywhere from 4 months to, potentially 8 months. And that includes the time it takes to actually design and, have that collaboration with the homeowner and fine tune to make sure that we deliver on what they had in mind.
Very nice. During the construction phase, I mean, are there instances where there's things discovered which you guys didn't know? Tell us a little bit about the construction phase, how they
Sure.
involve the other clients.
Yeah, it's construction, so there's always what we call unforeseen circumstances or things that we find. But for the most part, if it's a standard garage, if it's normal wear and tear, shouldn't be an issue. Some of the issues that could come up would be the structural integrity of the existing structure. So the foundation, the footings, things like that we would be able to assess early on. But generally, especially if you have the space for it, there's you have a lot with empty land. Building new is always straightforward.
Right.
So you could avoid all those by doing that.
Let's say hit on the multifamilies and how they're allowed to, input ADUs on their space, and a little bit of detail on that.
Sure. Yeah. So it's becoming quite popular now. It started with mainly residential clients. Now we're kind of moving into the space of multifamily. And the reality of it is, they can increase the revenue streams, right? So for people from an investment standpoint, they understand this. And, this, and in real estate, in order to stay competitive, you have to make every square foot work harder, right? And that's what ADUs do. So, I like to think as ADUs as the Swiss Army knife of real estate, where, they offer flexibility, whether it's for housing, aging in place for yourself, retirement is on a lot of people's minds. So they could plan for that through an ADU. And of course, workspaces, short-term rentals, long-term rentals. So there's really lots of, different things that you can take advantage of.
Sure. What's the cost associated with these ADUs on the average ADU?
Sure. Yeah. So on multifamily, they allow you to have 2 detached ADUs, and you could possibly even have a JADU as well. So you can, there's lots of opportunity there to tap into that, right? So, and generally the cost, it depends on size, right? And then depends on where we're building it, if it's like a basement ADU or if it's attached, detached, new construction, conversion. But I can say, if we're talking about, the smallest size that we typically build, which is going to be, anywhere from 380 to 400 square feet, like a studio or 1 bedroom, you're going to be in the price range of anywhere from like 160 to 200 grand, depending on the inclusions, fixtures, finishes, and from a structural standpoint, the height of the structure, the design of the roof, size of the windows, number of the windows. So there's a lot of factors that go into, there's hundreds of components, right?
Right.
But that's, if you're trying to budget for this, it's not always a good idea to go big, right? It's good to take, evaluate the space, find out what works from a functionality standpoint, and in a way where you can still retain the character and the value of the lot, but at the same time, you can take advantage of dead space. And, and even though there is that cost associated with it when you build it, especially in a multifamily property, you're multiplying value without multiplying cost. So in the end, real estate isn't getting any cheaper here in LA. So
Absolutely.
It's going to make sense.
Definitely. Now, in terms of the money needed for the clients to build these with the rates at somewhat all-time highs, how does that impact the business?
It of course it does have an impact, like it does on everything else. But a lot of lenders are understanding ADUs better. And there's some lenders that our clients work with that can actually provide you a loan based on the future value of the property, and they can take into consideration the rental income based on what the market rate is.
Oh, great.
So, they can use that towards the, debt to income, DTI, and the total investment. So, again, I think it's, there are improvements in that light as well.
What is your suggestion for people out there that are looking for ADUs? What should be their first step? How do they contact you?
Sure. Yeah. They can go on our website, fill out our contact form, or they can call us direct, and we can set up a time to just get an understanding of what they have in mind. And a lot of that can be done remotely, at least in the preliminary stage, where we can take a look at where their property is located, what jurisdiction it's in, and get some remote measurements of the lot. But within, 20 to 30 minutes, we can give them a decent idea of what, the the size, the potential cost, and that would be the best first step. And one recommendation I can make is, again, the reason why we do design build is because handling design is where the real, the planning starts, right?
Sure.
It starts from the architectural plans. So especially if you want to make sure that you are keeping track of cost and staying within a certain budget, it's always best to, work with someone that has an expertise in ADUs so that they can guide you and keep you from making, over designing, which does, frequently happen.
Sure.
But, if you start with someone that has built these before, that has a good understanding of what's allowed and also has the intention of building it, not just designing it, that way you can secure a more, a better experience for everybody.
Do you see a lot of clients that have approved plans that they come to you just for the construction?
Yes. That's actually something that we've come across quite a bit this year. And again, in a lot of cases, it does, the over designing does play a big role. I've had clients that come to me or potential clients where, they've designed something that's substantially above what they thought the cost would be.
Sure.
And, that can create a lot of issues because, borrowing money isn't easy nowadays, right? So if you're designing something without the knowledge of what material costs are, the structural, engineering side of, whether you need metal framing because of the way you designed it or what type of reinforcements required for those designs, you can really rack up a bill.
Definitely. What is SB9?
Okay, SB9, that's a good question. So SB9 is essentially a way to divide the property into two different lots. So if you have a large piece of land and you have a home on it, a single family residence, you could actually split the lot and build a new home with an ADU and a garage and be able to sell it separately.
So basically two separate lots.
Exactly.
That's a great way to strategize about it.
Yeah, and that's something that just passed, I believe, last year. So
Right.
A lot of people are learning about it, and it's something that we think will keep us busy moving forward.
What about being able to sell your ADU separately from the house?
So that's also something it's a recent development in that space. And you are able to do it, but we haven't come across anyone that's, taken that path. Mainly because it does have certain things that you have to consider in that when you're thinking of doing that. And it's mainly that you would have to create an HOA. So it essentially converts it into a condominium lot. So if you're able to do that, there is value in that. Condos still do,
Absolutely.
do have value.
Do you have any suggestions for the viewers?
If you're thinking about an ADU, do your research. Make sure you work with someone that is knowledgeable, that has the expertise. Especially, I always say, vet contractors, vet your designers, look at some of their previous work, visit some of their existing or previous projects. That's always key. Make sure that both parties manage each other's expectations, and that's the most important piece.
Well, all right, Freddie, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for all the insightful information.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share any questions or comments in the comments below, and follow us on social media. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Let's get together. Let's get to having some fun. Let's do whatever. The night's looking so young. Let's get together. Let's get to having some fun. Let's get together. Let's get together. Let's get together. Let's get together.